asylum in 1972, and I came to do my postgraduate studies here. So, and that's the why. um, when I came at the time, of course, everyone was going to the United States. That was the usual destination. But I was told, but at that time I was going to do general medicine in dermatology. So, and one of the consultants I worked with in Manila said that if you're thinking of dermatology, then the best place would be to go to England. And so I applied here, and I was accepted at Oxford. So that's how I came. And then, of course, somewhere along the line, after doing my sort of medicine, I decided that I wanted to strengthen my basic knowledge in pathology, and I went into training for pathology, and I liked it, and then I stayed within the pathology thing, and then the jobs kept coming, and of course then specialization came, and I went into cancer research, and that's until I retired, which was last. Filipino Women's Association was established in 1988, and it was during the administration of the first Aquino government, and at that time, the Filipino women here in the UK were receiving very bad press from British media, and they seemed to be focusing on mail order brides, and sort of, even if they were focusing on talking about other South Asian countries, about women in South Asian countries, when they turned to the Philippines, it was always mail order bride, and you would think that that was our main sort of preoccupation as Filipino women. And at that time, the wife of the ambassador, Mrs. Kimson, Mrs. Nene Kimson, realized that there was no group of Filipino women that would counteract this bad press. And so what she did was to call on the women for a meeting at the Philippine Embassy, and that's where we had our meetings, sort of at the start, and asked us, sort of to face to this challenge. And so, and then Filipino Women's Association was created, then, and those were the beginnings, because there were very few professional sort of women here. Actually, very few professionals amongst Filipinos here at the time, because those were the days when the majority of the people who came here worked as domestic helpers or people in hospitals as student nurses, and working in hospitality within the hotels. So like not management, but in the sort of lower ranks of the hotels, and so we thought that sort of we needed to raise the image of the Filipino women, so sort of and change this perception that we were mail order brides, so and so we did that, and in our first year we linked ourselves, the associations sort of liaised with other women's associations in London, and a lot of these associations were had members from different countries, and so sort of we thought that that was the best way to advertise and sort of raise the profile of Filipino women, so that they would know about us. And we then had, as in our beginnings, we had forums with them. We had dialogues with the other associations or women's associations, and they got to know about us. So at that time I wasn't aware that there was a listing of universities that were approved or recognized by UK, because we were more used to going to the United States after sort of for our postgraduate or even for employment purposes. And so here, in medicine, for example, there were only 4 universities that were recognized. And which means that if you came from one of those universities, then you're not required to take any examination. Of course, that has changed now because everyone now takes an examination whether you come from a recognized university or not. And with the other, I think, with the other professions, it was not the case. You know, sort of, I think there were more universities that, well, there were less universities that were recognized. I think it was probably just the University of the Philippines and the University of Santo Tomas. So those were the only two universities. You have to remember that when I came in 1972, a lot of the people I worked with haven't even heard of the Philippines. So it was not something that they knew about. They didn't know where it was. They didn't know about any of our history because, of course, we're not a Commonwealth country. For me personally, you know, with the Filipino Women's Association, we have a scholarship program. We offer scholarships at a high school level and to deserving Filipino children who may not be able to afford, you know, sort of their tuition fees and even just the expenses of going for education, even if they go to public schools, but there isn't enough money for them for transportation and baon and you know, and all the projects in school. And we have seen the standard of the education, the quality of education that these children, you know, sort of have gone through, and it just seemed to me that it was deteriorating, even if it's just a comprehension, you know, sort of course, people will say as long as they can communicate, that's enough. But when you're now in a very competitive world for employment, you know, you have to excel. You have to offer something better than your competitor. You know, so I think for me that the extra 2 years would be good if it prepares them for employment and for better employment as well for the future. Yes. I know that the mission of the president, you know, sort of was always been the daang matuwid, no corruption, you know, walang mahirap kung walang corrupt, sort of thing. And so my expectation is from his government is that, you know, so to implement this, so the daang matuwid, and I was also, you know, sort of following the media coverage of the Corona impeachment, you know, sort of thing. And for me, you know, sort of whatever the pluses and the negatives of that, you know, sort of process, for me, just the mere fact that we are now able to go after people in high places, you know, that where you can say that, you know, what is this, ang law para sa mababa ay kapareho rin ng para sa nakakataas, no? So to me that is a very positive thing. So ina-expect ko is that magpapatuloy yun ang gagawin ng presidente. At saka magbibigay din ng opportunities for the poor to, you know, to develop and improve their position in life.
Time logistics. Before Marina.
This project to sort of link up.
And time allotment for LC to announce the different